Welcome to Barnhill. My name is Rob Barnhill and I'm proud to be a part of the third generation of this company. The fact that you are now a part of our team is evidence that we have shared values. Core to those values is safety. We expect every individual to conduct their work in a safe manner, and we expect every individual to look after their teammates and expect the very same. Our goal is to have every employee and every subcontractor go home at the end of the day the same or better than they arrived in the morning. We promise that we will provide the tools and training to perform your work in a safe manner. If you ever have any questions or concerns, please go to your manager. If your manager is unable to resolve your concern, please go to other management, including me. I will be more than happy to help. Again, thank you for joining Barnhill, and please don't learn safety by accident.
When you walk into any Barnhill project, the first thing to look for or ask about is an emergency action plan. Get familiar with it. Make sure you ask about and understand the evacuation routes for the building and how to get to them. In the event of an emergency evacuation, you must remain at your muster point until you have been released by Barnhill. Locate the nearest first aid kit and make sure it's fully stocked. Also, find out who is trained in first aid and CPR. When you're on a job site, there are chemicals all around you. Every chemical should have an SDS sheet that explains what hazards it presents. A list of chemicals needs to be in all Barnhill office locations for reference. We don't want an accident to happen, but if one does, report it to your supervisor immediately, no matter how small. Subcontractors are also required to report all accidents to Barnhill. The address and phone number for the nearest medical facility or hospital is part of the emergency action plan, should it ever be needed. Fire extinguishers are critical to the project fire protection plan. Anyone using a fire extinguisher must be trained in the PASS method. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep side to side. Remember, every fire extinguisher must have a current annual and monthly inspection tag and be mounted on the wall. Each subcontractor is required to provide their own extinguisher in their areas of hot work. Please leave Barnhill's extinguishers where our team has placed them. Now let's talk about personal protective equipment, or PPE, for every worker. Each person should have a hard hat, safety glasses, shirt with 4-inch sleeves, a Class II safety vest, work pants, and work boots. Gloves are also required for trades or tasks with sharp materials such as flashing, sheet metal, metal studs, iron pipe, metal roofing, coping, welding, and wrecking of formwork. If you are using a quickie saw, a grinder, pouring concrete, or working with hot liquid asphalt, you must also wear a face shield along with your safety glasses. Additional PPE is required for tasks that may create an arc flash hazard or welding. Remember, when you're on the job, stay hydrated during those hot months. It's so important to take frequent breaks to avoid heat exhaustion. Always obey all project signage and job postings, including no smoking signs inside buildings or where flammable material is stored. Trenching and excavation is one of the most dangerous things that we do every day. Approximately 400 people die every year in a trench cave-in. If you're working in trenching and excavation, here's what you need to remember. Any excavation that's deeper than 5 feet must be protected from cave-ins. After the competent person determines whether the soil type is A, B, or C, the proper method of protection can be chosen. It can be sloping, benching, a trench box, or shielding. If a trench is more than 4 feet deep, workers need safe access. Access points must be less than 25 feet from where work is being performed. All spoil piles and materials being installed in the trench must be at least 2 feet from the edge of the trench. Any rolling stock, such as pipe, should also be chalked. If you're operating heavy equipment with rollover protection, you must wear a seatbelt. All equipment with obstructed views to the rear require backup alarms. If the equipment is backing up near workers, you'll need a spotter. Remember to always make eye contact with equipment operators. Never squeeze between a piece of equipment and a building or another piece of equipment. Operators, watch out for foot traffic. Follow Barnhill's spotter policy when working in close proximity to equipment and people. Any underground vault or manhole deeper than 4 feet is considered a confined space. Coordinate with Barnhill management to determine if a permit and life safety equipment is needed. When working with or around concrete, be sure to wear proper personal protective equipment, including safety glasses, gloves, and long sleeves. This will help prevent chemical burns. Remember, dry cutting is not allowed. Use water when cutting cured concrete to prevent exposure to harmful dust and silica. When working with concrete or masonry products, extreme caution should be taken to prevent exposure to respirable silica dust. When sawing, chipping, grinding, or drilling of concrete and masonry products, OSHA Table 1 should be followed. All tools should be equipped with either an integrated vacuum or water delivery system. Any rebar or form pins that could cause impalement, puncture, or abrasion must be capped or otherwise protected. All temporary electrical power must have GFCI protection, including any power supplied by a generator. All permanent and temporary lighting below 8 feet must be protected from damage. Before you use any extension cord, make sure you inspect it. That's the entire cord that needs to be inspected. A cord with any damaged sheathing, broken ground pins, improper strain relief, or any other damage could expose a worker to live electricity and must be taken out of service immediately. Don't forget that all receptacles and light switches require cover plates. Prevent trips from cords by hanging them with J-hooks on walls. Lockout tagout is a requirement to prevent the release of any unexpected stored energy, not just electrical. This could include gas, steam, or the maintenance of equipment. Before being powered up, both temporary and permanent electrical panels need to have all doors and knockout covers installed and secured and have the proper signage. Please check with Barnhill's site superintendent for project-specific hot energized work requirements. Guardrails are always the preferred method of fall protection. Any worker using a personal fall arrest system as fall protection must be trained in the proper use of the devices. Any holes on the site must be guarded, covered, and labeled "hole, do not remove." Fall protection anchor points must be rated for at least 5,000 pounds. We understand that choosing an appropriate anchor point can be challenging. If you need help, please ask Barnhill management if you're not sure how to properly protect yourself or your crew from a fall. Anytime you are higher than 6 feet above the ground, 100% fall protection is required. Always. If you're working in a boom lift, you must use fall protection whenever you're inside the basket. All operators must be certified as well. Anyone working on a boom or scissor lift needs to hold a license at all times. When working on precast wall sheeting or panels or material deliveries through building openings, danger tape or barricading should be installed below. This will keep workers on the ground away from possible falling objects. Guardrails must be installed and maintained in all exterior window and door openings. Make sure that the rails are installed at 42 inches and 21 inches above the finished floor. Toe boards are a part of the fall protection in these openings. When a crane is on site, the first thing we need is proof of an annual inspection, operator qualifications, and a lift plan. These have to be submitted to Barnhill before any work can begin. The swing radius of the crane must be barricaded to keep workers safe from the counterweights. Barricades must extend out past the outriggers to fully protect workers and the crane. Any worker who touches the hook of the crane or signals the crane must have proper rigger signaling training, and proof of that training must be provided to Barnhill as part of your site-specific safety program. All lifting devices must have capacity tags and be inspected before every use. This inspection documentation is required weekly. Cranes and equipment should always stay at least 20 feet away from overhead power lines. The setup should also include solid cribbing for outriggers and plenty of clearance from underground utilities. An OSHA-certified competent person must inspect all scaffolding before every use. All scaffolding should be built based on the manufacturer's or design requirements. A green or red tag should be proof of the most recent inspection of the scaffold. All levels of the scaffold must have cross bracing on the fully planked working level. The cross brace can only be used as the mid-rail. A top rail must be added for fall protection. Toe boards are required on any level where materials are stored or work is being performed to protect the workers below. Proper access ladders need to be provided on all scaffolding. Cross braces may not be used for access to any level of the scaffold system. Remember, any standalone masonry walls higher than 8 feet on the site must be braced to prevent collapse. Trash and scrap material should be removed from the roof daily. For all roofing work, a fall protection plan is required. When possible, consider hard barricades on parapet walls or work with us to create a guardrail system that replaces the fall arrest system when roofing. If a controlled access zone or warning line system is used, you must submit a plan to Barnhill and training must be completed for all workers in these exclusion zones. Any worker outside of the controlled access zone will be tied off. All roofing materials must be properly stored and secured on the roof at all times. This will keep material from being blown away if unexpected weather occurs. Before you step on any ladder, inspect it, check the hinges and the frames, and make sure they are not damaged. Make sure the feet are intact. If you find any damage on the ladder, remove it from service immediately. Be sure that the manufacturer's safety labels are attached to the ladder frames and ensure the ladder is fully open before climbing up on it. Never stand on the top 2 steps of a ladder. Do not work on a ladder near a leading edge or interior shaft without fall protection. Whenever you use an extension ladder, be sure that it extends 3 feet past the access point and is secured back to the building. Areas at the top and bottom of the ladder need to remain clear at all times. Do not stand in the middle rail or top rail of a scissor lift. When you are working inside of a lift, keep the safety chain at the lift entrance fastened all the time. Never operate a lift on the surface that isn't level. It can make the lift flip over. If you're going to work on stilts, you've got to check the floor around you before you get up on them. If there's any holes or any materials on the floor that could cause you to slip and fall, you have to remove them or cover the holes. Always maintain guardrails at interior elevator shafts and mechanical shafts in your work area. If guardrails are missing or must be removed to complete your work, please notify Barnhill immediately. Never use gas-powered equipment inside of the building. Consult Barnhill for options to provide ventilation or simply use electric tools. Be sure a traffic control plan and signage is in place prior to all flagging operations. When approaching the right-of-way or working in public streets, we have to follow all work zone rules and regulations. It's important. The proper traffic control devices, including signs, barrels, or cones, are critical to the safety of workers and the traveling public. Special precautions need to be instituted for any road work at night. Always face oncoming traffic when you're engaged in traffic control. Never turn your back to oncoming traffic.
We are committed to safety. Thank you for being a part of Barnhill. And please, don't learn safety by accident.